This very sad case was heard in the Supreme Court of New South Wales in 1989, and it was one of the cases that led to a change in the rules for signing wills. A man named Ronald Lang was caught in a fire and suffered horrific injuries. He was admitted to hospital and placed in intensive care, but it became clear even to him that he would not survive. He asked the nurses to send for his solicitor, who arrived at 4 a.m. Mr. Lang said that he did not have a will and that he wanted one before he died. The solicitor sat by his bedside and wrote the will out on the spot, according to Mr. Lang's instructions. He then read the will out to Mr. Lang, who said, "Yes, that is 100% Frank." At the time, the statute in New South Wales required that the will be signed. The nurses attempted to assist Mr. Lang to sign the will, but he was just unable to do so. His injuries were so horrific that he could not even mark the paper with the pen, and the only trace of his attempt to sign were some dark, incidental smudges from his wounds or his bandages. He lapsed into unconsciousness and later died. The solicitor certified that he had heard Mr. Lang say, "Yes, that is 100% Frank," and he had this countersigned by a witness who had also been present when the will had been read to Mr. Lang. The will was challenged on the basis that it had not been signed. The court very reluctantly had to agree that the will had never been signed. There was clear authority that he needn't sign his whole name, but he needed to have left some mark on the paper, intending that mark to be a signature. The smudges he left were not intended by him to be his signature. He likely didn't intend to make them at all. Justice Needham said, "I am afraid the evidence does not by any means satisfy me that the testator made either of those marks as part of his signature." Since that time, legislation in all Australian states has been changed to allow a will to be signed by another person at the direction of the person making the will in their presence. These days, Mr. Lang's will would have been valid and honoured.